Discover the incredible faith of Joshua and Caleb, miraculous journey into God's promised land. In the year 1446 BC, the sun dipped low over the deserts of Midian, casting long shadows across the weary Israelite camp on the east side of the Jordan River. A sea of anxious faces turned toward their leader, Moses, who stood before 12 tribal heads, rugged and resolute, his voice echoing with divine authority. "The Lord has commanded us to scout the land he has promised our forefathers, a land flowing with milk and honey." A murmuring of anticipation surged through the crowd. A momentous journey lay before them. Among the chosen spies was Joshua, son of Nun, a man filled with courage, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, whose faith ignited a flame of hope. As they traversed through olive groves and over rolling hills, the lush landscape of Canaan stirred something deep within their souls. It was not merely the beauty of the land that captivated them but the promise of God woven into every corner they explored. They gathered grapes, immense in size and sweet, hefting them as evidence of the bounty to come. However, somber tales carried on the winds. Giants dwelled in the land, fierce as the storms of the desert. When they returned to the camp, the air crackled with fear and uncertainty. 10 spies, their hearts quaking, spoke of walled cities and mighty foes. "We are like grasshoppers in their sight," they cried, casting a pall over the excited murmurs of their brethren. Yet, just as despair threatened to sweep through the people, Caleb steeled himself and shouted above the tumult. "Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it." His voice rang with the unmistakable conviction of a man destined for divine purpose. Joshua stood alongside him, emboldened by his friend's unwavering faith. "If the Lord delights in us," they declared, "he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey." The ripple of dissent grew louder, as doubt spread like wildfire among the Israelites. Many shrank back at the thought of facing overwhelming odds. The tension in the camp rose, a battle raging not in swords but between faith and fear. Caleb's fierce gaze met Joshua's. It was a communion of hearts, a pact forged in the crucible of belief that their God could, and would, part the seas of impossibility. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As murmurs of rebellion regained their strength, Caleb implored the people to hold fast to their faith. "The Lord is with us, do not fear them." Despite their monumental size, the giants and walled cities paled in comparison to the power of Yahweh. His promise resounded in the hearts of the faithful few, forging an atmosphere thick with reverence and unwavering hope. But would the others listen? Would they accept the challenge waiting just beyond the river's edge? In that moment, the destiny of the Israelites hung in the balance like a fragile thread woven into the tapestry of divine promise, beckoning them to choose faith over fear. And so they stood, teetering on the brink of monumental decision, facing the twin specters of despair and hope. What would it be, trust in God, or falter at the threshold of blessing? The weight of their choice loomed like the fortified walls across the river. Then the voice of the people rose up, swelling like a fierce tempest. "Let us choose a leader and return to Egypt." Their cries reverberated with fear, drowning out the brave declarations of Joshua and Caleb. The prospect of the promised land dimmed as doubt poured over them like a dark cloud, filling their hearts with trepidation. Moses, sensing the unrest, fell upon his face before the assembly. Aaron, the priest, joined him, and they cried out to the Lord, pleading for mercy. The presence of God moved among them, a pillar of cloud settling at the entrance of the tabernacle. A silence enveloped the camp, as all turned to behold the glory of the Lord manifested. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "How long will this people despise me? And how long will they not believe in me, in spite of all the signs that I have done among them?" His voice echoed with righteous anger. "I will strike them with a plague and disinherit them, but I will make of you a nation greater and mightier than they." Moses interceded for the people, recounting the mercy and strength of God. "O Lord, your reputation is at stake. For it has been said, because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land that he swore to give them, he has killed them in the wilderness." At the mercy of Moses' plea, the Lord's heart softened. "I have pardoned according to your word," the Lord replied, "but surely as I live, and as all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord, none of the men who have seen my glory and my signs shall enter my rest. Joshua and Caleb, standing firm in their faith, saw the Lord's proclamation unfold. Their hearts beat in sync with the divine promise echoing in the winds of the wilderness. They exchanged glances, mutual understanding sparking in the depths of their spirits. Their path was clear, their trust in Yahweh would not be shaken by the tumult of the unfaithful majority. Caleb spoke boldly once more, "If the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into this land. Let us not forget his wonders." But the people, their hearts hardened, were moved by despair. They lifted stones intending to silence the faithful voices, but the glory of the Lord enveloped the scene in a mighty display of divinity. The Lord directed Moses to instruct the people, "Say to them, 'As I live, declares the Lord, what you have said in my hearing I will do to you. Your dead bodies shall fall in this wilderness, and all of your number, listed in the census from 20 years old and upward, who have grumbled against me, shall not enter the land.'" A deep sorrow filled the camp as the consequences of their rebellion became clear. The promise held out before them became a haunting reminder of lost opportunity. Yet amidst the despair, Caleb and Joshua were filled with a hope that would not fade. They were resolute in their faith, believing entirely in God's power to restore and fulfill his promise. As the hearts of the people frayed against the burden of their choice, the sincerity of Caleb's and Joshua's faith burned brightly, illuminating their path toward the yet unclaimed inheritance. The whispers of doubt that had taken root churned within the hearts of many. And though shadows loomed over the camp, whispers began to unfurl like a budding olive tree in spring. What if we rise and stand together like Caleb and Joshua? The seeds of hope, planted in the hearts of the faithful few, began to stir, urging the people to reconsider. What would become of this wavering nation? The Lord's plan hung in the balance, revealing that even in moments of grave despair, divine purpose remained steadfast. The great promise loomed over them, still unfolding. What great things awaited those who would trust beyond their fears? For the tale of faith was far from over. Moses rose from his place of intercession, his face still reflecting the glory he had beheld. Gathering the multitude around him, he spoke with the authority granted by the Lord, "Hear now, O children of Israel. The Lord has declared the fate of this wilderness generation. You shall wander here until all who have rebelled are no more." A murmur rippled through the crowd, confusion mingling with fear. "But we shall return to the land of our forefathers," seemed to echo from every corner, a chorus of disbelief fueled by dread. Yet in the midst of the rising tumult, Joshua seized the moment, his voice rising above the din, "Stay strong and courageous. The Lord is with us. Do not fear these giants, for they shall be bread for us." His words, energized by faith, ignited a spark among a few. Caleb, emboldened by his companion's conviction, added, "The land we visited is exceedingly good. If the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land flowing with milk and honey." But the majority remained entrenched in their disbelief. "We are like grasshoppers in their sight. We cannot ascend," they cried. Fear wrapped its chains around their hearts, blocking the vision of what lay ahead. With each complaint, Moses and Aaron fell again to the ground, praying fervently. Each prayer rose like incense before the Lord, a plea to soften hardened hearts. And then, the voice of the Almighty thundered once more, shaking the very foundations of their despair. "How long will these people provoke me? I have shown you my signs and wonders. Yet you still choose rebellion." The fear of the people reached a crescendo, and they turned against Caleb and Joshua, threatening violence. But suddenly, the ground trembled, and the cloud of the Lord's glory descended upon the tabernacle, enveloping the two faithful men like a shield. The voice of the Lord called out again, "I have chosen my servants. They shall know my path and enter my rest." A deep silence fell, as if time paused in reverence to the divine decree. The Lord continued, "Because you have raised your voices against me, your children will enter the land, but you shall not. Your bodies shall fall in this wilderness." As the words settled over them like a mantle of dread, Joshua and Caleb held tightly to hope, fierce and unyielding. "It is not too late," Joshua declared. "Let us rally the faithful and seek the Lord. Those who yearn to see his promises fulfilled must rise up with us." And in that moment, hearts began to stir, some recalling the wonders the Lord had performed, the plagues of Egypt, the crossing of the Red Sea, the bitter waters made sweet. One by one, the disheartened began to whisper of possibility, of a way forward, ignited by the courage of Caleb and Joshua. "Listen, O people." Moses called, rising to address those who still feared. Take this day to turn from fear and doubt. We mourn for our fallen brothers, but our God is a God of hope. He rescues and redeems even the most shattered hearts. The morning light of redemption beckons. Do you see it, children of Israel? There amidst bewilderment and sorrow, a flicker of faith began to glow. A remnant still believed. The Lord was surely setting the stage for a new chapter, for he who promised is faithful. Yet shadows remained, for the rebellious ones would not be easily swayed. They grasped at the past, unwilling to release their fear, but for the faithful few, the road ahead shone with the radiance of God's promise. What indeed awaited this wavering nation, as faith began to emerge and rekindle in the hearts of the chosen? If only their eyes could see beyond their doubts, they would discover the unfolding tapestry of God's sovereign plan. For even in the wilderness, a pathway was being forged to lead them to the promise that lay just beyond the horizon. As the sun cast its golden rays upon the encampment, a sense of expectancy began to ripple through the hearts of the faithful. In the face of adversity, those who dared to believe gathered around Joshua and Caleb, their eyes alight with hope. For they had heard the promise spoken by the Lord, a promise that was like a beacon guiding them through the desolate wasteland. Moses sensed the stirring of faith. He spoke with conviction once more. O children of Israel! Witness the mercy of the Lord. He remembers his covenant with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is time to rise from the ashes of despair and declare victory, for our God is not a man that he should lie. The crowd hushed, each one reflecting on the weight of Moses' words. But how can we conquer? They murmured, doubt creeping back like a shadow. We have seen the giants in the land. Joshua interjected, his voice resonant and filled with the strength of the Lord. The giants are but a testament to the greatness of our God. He has delivered us from the hand of Pharaoh. Do you think he would abandon us now? Let us prepare to march, for the Lord has gone ahead of us. Caleb raised his staff, the wood worn smooth from his grip, and proclaimed, We are well able to overcome. The land is ours for the taking. We will feast on its abundance and raise our children beneath its fruitful trees. This proclamation breathed a new strength into the hearts of many, and whispers of agreement began to circulate. Yet among the disheartened, the ones cloaked in fear, a solitude festered. They griped against their fate, casting glances at their companions ignited with hope. Is it not better to return to Egypt? They cried. It was there we ate and lived, though in bondage. Is it worth the risk of death? Moses implored the Lord, falling before the Almighty in desperate prayer for the people. O Lord, what shall I say to this great rebellion? Mercy upon mercy, grant them one final chance. Show them your glory. Just then, a wind swept through the camp as the voice of the Lord echoed once more in the silence that followed. You are a stubborn people, yet I will demonstrate my power. Tomorrow, gather your tents and prepare for a journey to the land I have designated for you. There, you shall see my wonders, and I will deliver the giants into your hands. Shouts of joy erupted among the faithful as the Holy Spirit moved through the camp, igniting passion and determination in their hearts. Let us prepare. They cried, for the Lord is doing a new thing among us. As evening fell, the camp lit with flickering fires. Amid the glow, families gathered to share stories of hope and past victories. The air was alive with faith, and yet among the ranks, a deep stillness beckoned the heart to listen. In the shadows, the rebellious seethed, whispering plans of dissent. Tonight, we shall not go quietly, they plotted, their hearts heavy with fear, for we will not walk in the way he commands. But Joshua and Caleb, sensing the brewing storm, sought the unity of the faithful. Let not your hearts grow weary, they urged, for tomorrow is a day of victory, and the Lord fights for us. Stand firm in trust, allow not the snare of fear to entrap you. Thus, the dawn broke, illuminating the horizon with promises yet unfulfilled. In the hearts of the faithful, an assurance grew, a conviction that even the wilderness bore the whisper of God's favor. Could it be that deceit and division would face the unyielding faith of the remnant? As they prepared to embark on their march, the promise glimmered ahead, shrouded in the mystery of divine purpose. For throughout the unfolding events, the Lord was patiently orchestrating a plan that would reshape their destinies one step at a time, one act of faith following another into the magnificent and sovereign tapestry of his eternal will. What triumph awaited them on the morrow? Would they embrace the challenge set before them, or would fear lead them astray once again? The answer lay just beyond the horizon. As dawn's light kissed the earth, a holy hush settled among the gathered tribes of Israel. The air was thick with anticipation, for today would reveal the faithfulness of the Lord. Moses rose early, and with solemn determination, he called the people to order. "Hear, O Israel! Today marks the day the Lord will show you his glory. Prepare your hearts, for we stand on the threshold of his promise." The crowd, now awakened by hope, set about their tasks with renewed vigor. They folded their tents and gathered their belongings, each hand eager to serve the purpose of God's framed ordeal. As they readied to move, the leaders stood resolute among them. Joshua and Caleb surveyed their brethren, their voices linked in fervent unity. "Trust in the Lord, and we shall inherit the promise." And so, the great assembly began its march, a procession across the arid wasteland. Drums of faith beat within them as they followed the path laid out by the Almighty. The presence of the Lord shimmered like fog upon their hearts, guiding them as a pillar of cloud by day and a flame by night. As they approached the borders of the Promised Land, a silence fell across the valleys. Fear loomed in the hearts of some as the looming shadows of fortified cities came into view. Whispers of dread fluttered in the air, echoing doubts that had welled within their community. "These cities are strong, and their warriors are mighty. How can we, mere shepherds and laborers, face such foes?" Once again, the formidable voices of Joshua and Caleb rose above the murmurs of fear. "The land is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us into this land, a land flowing with milk and honey." Their words resonated with few, yet lingered like balm in the hearts burdened by despair. But the discontent festered within the ranks, and under the cloak of night, the rebellion gathered strength. They whispered of stoning Moses and the faithful leaders, plotting to select a captain to return them to Egypt. Fear dulled their remembrance of the Lord's past deliverance, their hearts blind to his miraculous might. In the intensity of their deliberation, some rose and bolted to confront Moses. "You have led us into a death trap. We shall perish by the sword. Is it not better to return to our chains in Egypt? At least there, we had food." Their bitter cries clashed with the refusal to see God's hand at work. Moses, hearing their outcry, fell upon his face before the Lord, and the spirit of intercession enveloped him. "O Lord, pardon the iniquity of this people, I pray, according to the greatness of your mercy, as you have forgiven them from Egypt even unto now." And the Lord replied, "I have pardoned according to your word, but as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord." Then, the Lord continued, revealing his righteous indignation towards the rebellious. "None of these men who have seen my glory and the signs which I did in Egypt, and in the wilderness, and have put me to the test now these 10 times, shall see the land which I swore to give to their fathers." A tremor ran through the assembly, a sharp reminder that the path ahead was fraught with both promise and peril. Yet, amidst the turmoil, Joshua and Caleb maintained an unwavering stand, tears of compassion glistening in their eyes. "The Lord is with us, fear them not," they cried, urging the faithful to remember the power of their God. Thus, as the sun set low, casting long shadows over the desert, the fate of the people was sealed not merely in the land they would enter, but in the hearts choosing to believe, or to falter. In that critical divide, the whisper of the Almighty echoed, revealing a truth that would shape the course of history. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." What awaited those who remained faithful? Would they choose to follow, and step into the full measure of his promise, or be led astray by their fear? The destiny of a nation lay in the balance, beckoning for obedience, demanding courage. In the stillness that followed the declarations of the Lord, the assembly quaked under the weight of their choices. Whispers of dissent flared into a robust chorus of rebellion, yet there were hearts that remained steadfast, hearts like those of Joshua and Caleb. With their spirits aflame, they clung to the hope of God's promise and stepped forward amongst the turmoil. "Brothers, look up, for our God is among us," Joshua declared, his voice resolute as he raised his staff towards the heavens. "He has brought us thus far with signs and wonders. Do not forsake his hand, nor surrender to the fears that would bind us. If our God is for us, who can stand against us?" But the assembly, caught in bondage to their fears, responded with a deafening cacophony. "We would rather return to Egypt than face the giants. Are we not but grasshoppers in their sight?" The bitter lament echoed through the camp, intertwining with the fading sunlight. Moses, bathed in both anguish and authority, arose amid their clamor, calling them back to the truth he had spoken and the God who had delivered them. "You have seen his wonders. You danced before the Red Sea as it parted. The Lord fights for us and promises victory. Do not harden your hearts as did your ancestors in the wilderness. Yet, the resistance grew, emboldened by despair. They sought to choose a leader who would carry them back to the chains they once knew, blind to the shackles of doubt that now ensnared their souls. Caleb, with a heart burning as brightly as the sun, faced the congregation. As the Lord lives, I tell you, their defenses will crumble before us like dust. Trust in the Almighty, He has promised this land to us, His covenant shall not fail. Their eyes met his, questioning yet yearning, and for a brief moment, hope flickered within them. But the shadows of unease soon enveloped that spark. The hearts of men were fickle, swayed by the storm of fear rather than grounded in faith. In that hour of trial, the Lord spoke to Moses once more, His voice a thunderous power amid the murmuring. How long shall this people provoke me? I have shown them my might. They have tested my patience, and I shall make known my judgment. Because of their unbelief, they will wander this wilderness until every last rebellious soul falls in this desert. Moses, trembling before the Lord, begged for the sake of the faithful, those who had followed in obedience. Yet, O Lord, a remnant still believes. Remember the promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he implored, hoping to temper the wrath of God with reminders of His covenant love. And the Lord relented, saying, I will spare the children who are yet innocent. They shall enter, but those who turn back shall perish here. The land shall be divided amongst the faithful and their descendants. A heavy silence fell over the assembly as the weight of truth settled in their hearts. Some dropped to their knees, their spirits broken by the clarity of their rebellion, while others rose in defiance, emboldened by the darkness overtaking them. But from the crowd, Joshua and Caleb held firm, rallying the faithful. We must prepare, for even now, the land is ours. The Lord goes before us. They sharpened their resolve, seeking to lead those willing to follow into the land of promise yet unseen. Thus, the people faced their decision, not merely a journey into a new land, but a choice between trust and despair. For not even the strongest walls could withstand the faith of those who believed in the Almighty. In the hearts of those who remained faithful, the word resonated with profound expectation, for the Lord, your God, is He who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to give you victory. And as the day yielded to the night, a glimmer of hope whispered through the desert, revealing the truth that, while the path was fraught with peril, the sovereign Lord still held the greater plan. But what they did not yet grasp was that the true battle lay not within the cities of giants, but within their very hearts. The dawn broke gently over the arid expanse, casting a golden hue upon the camp. The people arose, hearts dripping with uncertainty, murmurs of dissent still echoing in memory as shadows loomed over their spirits. Yet amongst the throng, the resolute faith of Joshua and Caleb began to ignite a spark in the weary souls of their kin. Awaken, children of Israel! Caleb cried, his voice cutting across the early morning silence like a clarion call. Remember the glory of our God. He is faithful, His promise shall stand, for He has not brought us this far to leave us here. The faithful gathered around, drawn to the light of His assurance, yet still, skepticism clung to many like a heavy cloak. Moses, they whispered, we cannot forsake our doubts, the giants are real, and they intimidate us. What if we perish before them? Doubt was a venomous serpent, coiling around their resolve, stifling the hope that Joshua and Caleb sought to cultivate. In that gathering gloom of gloom-laden hearts, Moses stood as an unwavering pillar. People of the Lord. He beckoned, his eyes aflame with determination, let not your fears dictate your fate. The Lord your God goes before you. He delights to reveal His power in the midst of impossibilities. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the path that lay ahead, Caleb moved through the encampment, laying hands upon the weary. Look not to what you see with your eyes, but hear the promise of the Lord, he urged. The land flows with milk and honey. It is ours to claim. Though apprehension still flickered amongst the assembly, the seeds of courage began to take root. In every heart that surrendered to the faithfulness of God, a whisper of victory began to resound. At last, the moment came when Moses summoned the leaders of each tribe, commanding their attendance. As they stood before him, a sense of solemnity filled the air. You are to survey the land beyond the Jordan, the land bestowed by the Lord, he decreed. Go forth, and return with the fruit of the land. It is your charge to see all that the Lord has prepared. The leaders departed, a diverse company of men, each with eyes set on both the promise of the land and the looming adversaries they would face. For 40 days, they traversed hills and valleys, gathering evidence of the land's bounty while experiencing the dread of confrontation. As they returned, evidence of the land's riches was laden upon their backs, clusters of grapes, the size of a man's hand, and pomegranates swayed in the sun. But as they approached the waiting assembly, their hearts were torn. "Truly, it is a land flowing with milk and honey," some proclaimed, their eyes bright with the fruit of hope. Yet others, emboldened by fear, interjected, "But we saw giants, children of Anak. They are strong, and we felt as grasshoppers in their sight." The assembly faltered again, the powerful echo of disbelief amplified, casting a shadow over the faith that had begun to bloom. Caleb and Joshua pressed through the murmurs, their hearts a band of iron. "The land is ours. Do not turn back," they implored. "If the Lord is with us, we shall surely conquer. Their defenses are but a shadow against our God." Tension gripped the camp as thoughts collided, belief and doubt entwined in a fierce battle for supremacy. Then a divine silence fell upon them as the Lord's presence swept through the field, a promise of what was to come, a revelation still veiled from their understanding. In that moment, the path was revealed. "You are called not for the giants that stand before you, but for the giants that dwell within. For God will bring down the walls of disbelief, and raise up a legacy of faith, a legacy that shall endure." And thus, the journey began anew, drawing closer to a reckoning that neither Joshua, Caleb, nor the assembly yet fully comprehended, for the true measure of victory lies not in the land itself, but in the transformation of hearts destined to trust in the sovereign plan. As the murmurs of doubt continued to ripple through the ranks, the faces of the people turned towards Moses. He raised his staff high, and in the stillness that followed, the people held their breath, as if nature itself awaited his command. "Hear the word of the Lord," he proclaimed, a divine authority resonating in his voice. "He has brought us to this threshold, and his promise is a mighty fortress around us. Shall we not stand firm in that assurance?" The crowd remained unsettled, and Caleb, emboldened by the Spirit of God, stepped forward again. "Do not fear," he urged, his voice steady and clear. "Our God is a God of battle, and it is he who fights for us. Let us not be like the trembling hearts of those who dwell in fear. Remember how our forefathers were delivered from Egypt. Remember the signs and wonders he wrought to free us." Joshua, fervent and steadfast, lifted his voice, "This land is our inheritance, promised to us by the Most High. It is not merely for our comfort, but for his glory. The giants are but a shadow before the majesty of our God." Yet, the assembly was torn. Some lifted their voices in solidarity with their leaders, but many were still ensnared by fear. "The land is filled with the children of Anak, fortified cities, and walled defenses. What can we do against such strength?" In the midst of rising unrest, a cloud formed above, an ethereal presence that filled the air with divine reverence. It was a reminder of the glory that accompanied their journey, the visible manifestation of God's covenant. "My people," a voice gentle yet firm echoed in their hearts, "why do you waver? I am with you. I shall lead you into the land of promise. Trust in my ways, for they are higher than yours." Suddenly, the shaking of the ground interrupted the tension, and whispers of the divine promise enveloped them. The people fell silent, humbled and awed. Caleb seized the moment. "Let us remember the covenant of our God. We are not like the nations, we are his chosen people. He promises us victory, do we not see that our doubts are the greater giants?" Then, as their hearts began to receive the words of encouragement, a cacophony of revelation filled the air as Moses once more raised his staff and declared, "Let the faithful step forward, for the Lord has given us a sign." And the air grew thick with expectancy, hope weaving through the ranks like a thread of gold. As the assembly searched each other's faces, Joshua rallied beside Caleb, "Let us now prepare ourselves. Not just for battle against flesh and blood, but for the true contention of faith. For what we face is not only the giants of the land but the disbelief in our hearts. Our journey of obedience has only just begun." A new resolve stirred within the heart of each Israelite. The call to faith rippled through the multitude, igniting a fire that would prepare them for what lay ahead. And like a banner unfurling in the wind, they acknowledged the power of God to overcome not just external enemies, but the internal struggles that had held them captive for so long. Their voices began to blend in a chorus of affirmation, lifting up praises to the Almighty. Yet within the melody of their newfound faith, a shadow lingered, an awareness of the trials yet to come. The Lord's call resounded, echoing within the stillness, "Will you march forward into the land I have prepared for you? Will you trust in my mighty hand?" And as they turned their gaze toward the horizon, a promise revealed itself, shrouded in mystery, for I have plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future, even amidst the giants that await. Are you ready to embrace the battle of faith, for the prize is greater than you can imagine? As the people stood on the precipice of uncertainty, the spirits of Caleb and Joshua surged like a mighty wind among them. "Let us arise!" cried Caleb, his voice breaking through the tumult, "for the Lord has gone before us. He has promised victory, and his word is unshakable." With hearts ignited by his words, the Israelites rallied, casting aside doubt and leaning into the fervor set by their leaders. "We shall not be intimidated by the sons of Anak," Joshua declared with unwavering faith. "For we carry the banner of the Almighty, and he goes before us as a consuming fire." But even as courage stirred, a remnant of fear remained, woven into the fabric of their collective heart. "How shall we overcome the fortified cities?" a voice among the crowd questioned, weary and worn. "What hope do we have against giants looming high above us?" Moses, sensing the struggle within their ranks, raised his staff once again and fell to his knees. "O Lord my God," he cried out, "show us your power. Confirm your promise before this people. For it is not by our might nor our power, but by your Spirit, that giants shall fall." As he prayed, the cloud that hovered overhead descended closer, and the people beheld a radiant light within it. From the heart of the cloud, words like fiery coals emerged, echoing in that hallowed place, "Fear not, for I have delivered the land into your hands. The walls that stand before you shall crumble as my children step forth in faith." A hush enveloped the assembly, and the weight of divine assurance lingered in the air. The doubts that had thrived among them began to wither in the face of such a powerful decree. The hearts of the faithful began to pulse with the certainty of God's promise, a potent reminder of his covenant which had been woven through generations. "Let us go forth," Caleb urged, sensing the change sweeping through the assembly. "Let us take up arms, not with swords of steel, but with the sword of the Spirit, and let our voices be the battle cry against the darkness of despair." The people, emboldened by the presence of the Lord and the faith of their leaders, began to move toward the edges of the encampment. As they took steps forward, hands uplifted in praise, the very ground resounded beneath them, a declaration of their faith acting as an echo of God's might. Joshua called forth the captains of each tribe, gathering them in unity, reminding them, "Remember the stones our fathers set by the Jordan. Let us build our own memorial of faith here, a testament to the generations that follow. For they shall know that we did not waver, that in our darkest hour, we trusted in the everlasting God." And as the captains nodded in agreement, a ripple of resolve swept through the multitude. They began to collect stones from the ground, crafting a monument that would stand as a testament to their resolve and remembrance of what the Lord would do. But in the depth of that sacred moment, still, a whisper of caution remained among some. What if the giants do not fall? What if our faith falters? Moses, still on his knees, raised his head, sensing their trepidation. "Know this," he replied, "the giants are not just before us, but also within us. Our God is greater than our fears. The victory lies in our trust. Are we willing to march forward into the unknown, to seize the promise he has laid before us?" And as they looked upon one another, hearts entwined with hope and dread, the new chapter of their journey unfurled like the wings of an eagle poised for flight. "For he has made a way where there seems to be none," whispered Caleb, "and the dawn of victory awaits us if we shall only believe." Little did they know that the battles they would face would not just be with the inhabitants of the land, but also within their own hearts, challenging them to live out the faith they professed. Yet the Lord, in his infinite wisdom, had woven a plan so grand that what lay ahead was a pathway to transformation they could not yet fathom. For beyond the giants, into the depths of their strife, a whisper of divine destiny awaited. Would they embrace it, and become the vessels through which his promise would flow to generations yet unseen? As the sun rose brightly above the hills of Canaan, illuminating the boundaries of the promised land, the hearts of the Israelites swelled with a fervent anticipation, a fire born of faith stirring within them. Joshua and Caleb stood firm, their spirits ignited with the assurance of God's covenant love. "Today," declared Joshua, his voice resonating like thunder across the valleys, "the Lord will lead us to victory. Let us prepare to move forward in faith." The assembly, now united by the flame of belief, gathered their courage as they stepped toward the land that lay before them like an untouched canvas. They felt the weight of their legacy pressing upon them. The promise made to their forefathers echoed through the generations, urging them to trust in the one who had brought them this far. With hearts aflame, the people began their ascent toward the fortified cities that glimmered menacingly on the horizon. Each step was a declaration of their faith, proclaiming, "God is with us." As they approached, the fear that once crept into their hearts began to yield to the radiant light of God's power that enveloped them like a protective cloak. Thus, they stood before the towering walls of Jericho, fortified and intimidating, yet within their souls, a deep conviction took root. The Lord had commanded Joshua, saying, "March around the city once for 6 days, and on the 7th day, shout, and the walls shall fall." A hush fell upon the people, wonder coursing through their veins. Obediently, they marched, encircling the city, hearts committed to the divine strategy laid out before them, an act of faith that confounded the wise and revealed the might of their God. At daybreak on the 7th day, the people gathered, a sea of vibrant faith ready to proclaim God's victory. With breaths held, they uttered loud cries, voices united in powerful harmony, "For the Lord is good, his love endures forever." The sound crescendoed, soaring upward, a battle cry that reverberated throughout the valleys. And lo, the walls of Jericho trembled. The steadfast stones shook, and at the sound of the mighty voices raised in faith, the walls crumbled to the ground as if they were but dust against the raging winds of divine power. The victory belonged to the Israelite people, woven through their obedience and sustained by their trust. The faithful rushed into the city, a wave of hope unleashed, claiming the land promised to them. This triumph was not merely one of military might but one of spiritual breakthrough. Here was the ultimate testimony of God's fidelity, a testament to the power of believing against all odds. In the midst of celebration, Caleb turned to Joshua with tears of joy lining his face. "We have seen the Lord's promise fulfilled today. His faithfulness has brought us to the land flowing with milk and honey." And Joshua replied, resolute and joyful, "Indeed, it is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our sight." Fear has been vanquished, and faith has led us home. The people lifted their voices in gratitude, singing praises to the Most High, celebrating the miraculous journey they had undertaken against the backdrop of giants and fortified walls. "Let these stones stand as a testament," Joshua declared, "to remind our children of the faithfulness of our God, who never forsakes his people." As they settled into their inheritance, a new chapter unfolded. A new generation was raised to know of the Lord's love and power. And amidst them were Caleb and Joshua, the faithful witnesses whose courage had defied the bleakness of fear. They became symbols of hope, guiding their kin with the stories of conquest through faith. Countless years would pass, and the stories of old would echo through the ages, teaching wisdom and divine truth to those who would hear. And the bloodline of faith that Caleb and Joshua ignited would give rise to an enduring legacy, a lineage destined for victory, rooted in trust and led by divine promise. Thus, the journey did not end here for the faithful remnant, but rather, it blossomed into the fullness of God's redemptive plan. Those who once stood at the precipice of despair now found themselves at the forefront of God's great purpose, holding fast to the truth that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God who brings forth life from barrenness and promise from the impossible, had led them forth. Still today, as we reflect on this mighty narrative, the faith of Joshua and Caleb continues to inspire, calling each of us to rise above our fears, to proclaim, and to believe in the mighty hand of God. As you've journeyed with us through these stories, we invite you to reflect on your own faith battles. What giants might you be facing? Stand firm in God's promises. His word is timeless and his faithfulness unwavering. Now, we urge you, let not this message of hope end here. Subscribe immediately to our channel to ensure you don't miss the next powerful biblical stories that can transform lives. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm, ensuring his light reaches even the darkest places. Comment below about your spiritual reflections and how this incredible story has impacted your faith. And finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth and to enlarge the family of God. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Eternity is at stake, and only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content to reach more souls for Christ.